Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina, I'm the host, and my guest today is a couple friends, lifelong friends, right? Missy and Leanne from MissEverLee Designs. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here because I used to seeing you on TikTok, so it's like all these 20 seconds bursts. But I feel like I know you. Like I've watched so many of them, and like all the things you make. Yesterday, I was like following the tutorial for the hat, and I'm not a crocheter, but I've managed to like start it and like do it, and follow. So it's like very clear, very precise instructions, and you show everything. So the layman who like never done it can still figure it out.
Our goal is to try and help the beginners.
That's it. That's what we try to do.
The dialogue is great, loop-de-loop. That's exactly what we're thinking in our head when you're crocheting. Like, you want me to do what? Stab it through? Okay, cool.
When you told me that you've met Leanne the day she was born, or was it the other way around?
The day I was born, yeah, I'm the younger one.
I'm the older one, yeah.
So how did that happen? Like, were your parents friends?
So her dad dated my aunt for most of our childhood. So we were raised as cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the separation, my dad and her dad were still really good friends. So we just like continued being like cousins, but we never actually officially became. And we lived in Washington State growing up. And somehow we both ended up in Missouri.
Boys.
Yeah. And on other sides of the state. But yeah, so it's just, chosen family, I guess.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about your crochet journey. Like, when did that first happen and who started
it? So we have this thing where every year for our birthdays and Christmas, we would, and this is always way before crochet, we would hand make each other gifts. Like this is one of the things Leanne made me. She like painted me Seattle because that's where we're from in the Seahawks. And so things like that. And so one year I was like, oh, and we tried to do like different crafts every time, like something out of our comfort zone. So one year I got a little like how to starter knit kit from like Joanne's and read this little book and figured out how to knit from this little book. And I knit her, what are they? Pot holders?
Pot holders.
With acrylic yarn. I didn't know. And so I gave her like a set of like 4 pot holders of like the first one I made, and it was all holy and missing things. And then it gradually like got better the more she picked out till it was like an actual nice one. So that's how our like fiber journey started. And then the next year I had my firstborn, and Leanne sent me a present. I was living in Florida at the time, and she sent me a present, and I opened it, and it's this just gorgeous crochet blanket of this like elephant. And I was like, oh, haha, would you learn how to crochet for me? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, and this thing is huge. And I was like, what? And she like didn't even use a pattern. It was the first thing she ever made. It's still on my child's bed. Like,
yeah, I just went for it. I got on YouTube and just learned how to do different stitches. Like, so there was crazy wild stitches in there.
It's very, we have a video up on it on TikTok. And I was just like, oh
yeah, and I wanted to make sure it was big enough for a baby. So I started it. And it was really hard. I had to put it down a couple of times because it was so heavy. And there was times where I couldn't even use my fingers anymore because I had no hand muscle strength. So
it was like, it would be like something that even a crocheter would be like, that's a lot of work.
It was really intense. And so she sent me her first picture of Everly, her daughter, laying on the blanket. And I was like,
she was like this small on the corner.
I could have made a much smaller blanket. It was way big for a baby blanket.
And
it fits really nicely on her bed now.
so the next time we got together, during one of Everlee's nap times, she actually was like, "Oh, I'm gonna teach you how to crochet." And I started crocheting. I was like, "Oh, this is way faster than my knitting." And so ever since then, it's just been.
Yeah. In the time that it took me to crochet a couple like larger items, she had knitted one baby sock and she was like, "I'm done with this." Threw the needles, grabbed a crochet hook and went to town.
So I respect knitters a lot because I'm like, that is, I mean, obviously, if I would have kept going with it, it would have got easier and faster, but I didn't.
Yeah. I did buy needles one time. I got a YouTube video up. I don't even think I cast it on, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me. I couldn't figure. I was just like, I'm out.
I was showing a TikTok yesterday to my husband, and I was like, I'm interviewing these girls tomorrow. And he said, well, what kind of knitters are they? And I said, they are the crochet type knitters. Does that drive you nuts when people ask you, like, so is that knitting?
No, I don't know if it drives us nuts. We're just like, oh, it's crochet. We use the hook. And actually, our husbands both are really good at telling knitting from crochet now. And we're very surprised.
Yeah.
Whenever they're like, look at this crochet thing, or they're like, know the difference. And
yeah,
like,
it's crazy that my husband knows the difference between, like, he'll just look at stitches and he'll know the difference.
So I guess we're more
really
impressed.
Cool.
I guess like people call it knitting so often. We're more impressed when people know it's crochet. Yeah. And we're like, oh, good job.
It used to annoy me when I first started. I'm like, I would correct people. And now people, when they ask me, oh, so you're the one that knits, right? Or whatever. I always just go along with it because it's it's a consistent daily battle. So I just, we got to pick, and choose what's going to bother us.
Not much does. We let most things just brush off.
Okay.
Talking about like the preconceived notions, right? So there is this image that people who knit or crochet, they're like older ladies who sit in their rocking chair and like it's not social thing, it's sort of something you do at home. Do people assume that about you? Like, were they surprised that you got into the crochet?
I don't know. We're pretty crafty.
Yeah, we always done a lot of crafting, and honestly, for me personally, like I said with the blanket thing, it was heavy and it was hard. I don't know how it is an older person thing. Your body hurts after crocheting for hours. You have to readjust your body because your back aches, or like do some stretches. So
I'm sure it's the same with knitting.
Any crafting item I feel like is like that. But I feel like for the most part, everyone has been extremely supportive, and we don't. Sometimes when people hear that I crochet, they giggle, like, oh, really?
Like, yeah.
You do what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not out, partying. I'm sitting at home with my dogs crocheting.
Yeah.
That's the best part of my day.
How much of it is part of your day? Like, how much do you guys spend crocheting?
Well, she's a machine. So she makes so much stuff. I'm not even joking. Like probably 50% of it has not been pictured or taken a video of. And she's like, yeah, probably more than that. And so she's just started doing better at taking pictures for me. I handle a lot of the content that goes out and do the voice, but she does a lot of the patterns, the work, the constant crocheting. Like she'll sit there for 10 hours and crochet and just like binge watch shows. Mm-hmm. I have 2 kids, so it's not quite that easy for me, and neither do I. And I say that as an excuse because nor would I have the attention span.
It's hard.
I have to, like, if I'm going to sit there for a while and do something, I have to have like 5 different whips in front of me and switch. Like I'm not very good at doing one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you very different in that respect? Like you have 5 whips. How about you, Leanne?
I'll have a lot of whips going, but so when I first started crocheting, I'd have so many whips, and then I would cram them somewhere, and then whenever I go and do my spring cleaning, I'll find them, and I'm just like, oh, I totally forgot I was doing this. So in the last year or so, I've made it a goal of mine to actually finish projects and not just push it to the side. And that's probably why I do crochet for 10 hours at a time, because I'm going to finish this. I'm going to tie in my ends as I go. Like this sweater, could you imagine how many ends was in this sucker? Like a lot. So I definitely did it as I went, because I knew if I didn't do it as I went, there's no way it would ever get finished. So
That one, she was telling
Absolutely stunning.
yeah, it's so beautiful. And she was like, I can't put this down. If I put it down, I'll never go back to it.
Go back to it. And it did take a while, because I didn't have a pattern for it. I didn't do a drawing, nothing. I just went for it. And
That's like our life.
If I put down my hook and my yarn, I knew I was never going to go back to it.
Because it was so tedious and hard.
It was,
but I think it was worth
fun
it.
at first, and then I did end up putting it down for about a week to do.
Oh, because we had orders.
We had orders through, so I had to actually make money. Well,
How much of it is like stuff you make to sell, and how much is it gifts and like things for yourself, for the kids, for the dogs, for like
90% of it is probably. So I'm telling her she's I just told her the other day, she was like, oh, I have this, I'm finishing it. She's like, I'm going to give it to Everly, my daughter. And I was like, why don't you start making things that we can like sell, dude? She makes so much stuff. And she was like, I guess I could do that. And it's just
she
like,
was lecturing me just yesterday.
Yeah. So
like,
the problem we have is like people inspire us. So we like get inspiration for a certain thing for someone. And then we make it. So it's hard for us to like make a lot of the same thing, which is why we do a lot of patterns. Cause we're just like, if we decided like, if we do patterns, people can make stuff from that and we don't have to do it 5 million times, which is, we sell a lot of made to order hats, which is one of our first things that we ever did. I don't know if we have the actual, so our best selling is actually, this is kind of a neon version of it, but it's a rainbow hat collection. And it was actually originally, like that's our biggest money maker probably. And it's using the side saddle stitch. We actually developed a way to do it on the round. So you can go, around because it's normally only seen in blankets. So we had to figure out a way to attach it and make it not look holy and weird. So yeah, we did this originally. The original inspiration for the pattern was my baby, my little rainbow baby. And then we were like, but rainbows mean so much to everyone. So like the mix of people that buy them and their stories when we get to hear them is great. So obviously there's like the pride aspect of it, which we love. And we love when people send us like custom requests for like certain colors for like their own identities and stuff. So we love being able to do like, because everything we make is like as they order it. So we can like change up our yarns and do everything. So we really enjoy that. And we love being able to create a safe space for whatever your situation is.
Let's talk about orders, right? Is it difficult for you to price it because like if you price it too high, right, people not going to buy. If you price it too low, you sort of devaluating your labor and your time. How did you decide on pricing?
We looked at other people that sold similar items and kind of looked at like the fees and everything on how we could make. I mean, we're not going to get rich off these hats. We definitely don't like sell them for expensive enough, but we also don't like, we value our time a lot, but we also don't like to make it inaccessible where they're going to go out and buy like fast fashion crochet because they can't afford a $500. That's an exaggeration, but a $500 hat. So yeah, we kind of looked at different brands or different like sellers originally when we first started doing it, people on their websites, what they sold it for versus Etsy. And we kind of just like averaged it out where we were comfortable.
People ever complain about cost of the stuff that you sell?
Nope.
No, we don't. I feel like with Etsy, if they don't want to spend the money, then they just move on. And then I do a lot of baby items and like special items for friends and family. And typically if somebody sends me something that they are interested in, I usually already have a number in mind of what you know, what it's going to cost. I've been doing this long enough that I know about how much yarn it's going to be and how expensive that yarn's going to be to make that item.
Time.
And then I quote them a price, and it's never weird because they either just move on from the topic or they immediately are like, yeah, let's do it.
Mhm.
If you wait until later to have that conversation, that's when I think things get weird.
I agree. That was the same. Like
Mhm.
I'm a licensed cosmetologist, so I did hair for a long time. It was the same thing in the salon. So that's why I think it might not be awkward for me either, is I'm always like, this is what you're wanting. This is the process. This is how much it will be. And like, once they are okay with that, then you move on and you do, you know, it's yes or no.
Yep.
So setting the expectation beforehand, I think, is probably the best way to go about it. Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of our interview that you started with acrylic pot holder. How do you choose materials now? Like, how choosy you are about materials, how much of yarn snobs you became?
We haven't got as far as some. That's for sure. Like,
yeah.
we've definitely gotten better, more aware of what type of materials we're using for what. Obviously at that point, I just picked a color that I liked and was like, cool. And then I gave it to her. I was like, these might melt. I actually don't know. I think acrylic's plastic.
To be honest, I still have them, but I've never used them once. I was worried they were going to melt my pots.
But
I still have.
But I mean, I know there is some amazing yarn out there that we really want to get our hands on. And we need to, but we just have to like get it. So like, I know I see a lot of like people that only use like so-and-so, and I'm like, I really want to do that. So we will ask us in a year, we'll be more snobby, I'm sure.
Honestly, when I don't even look at the price anymore, because even cheaper yarn a lot of times is pretty close to how much the expensive stuff is at this point. You know,
The prices
have gone up. It's gone rocketed recently. A lot of times I'll grab the yarn and I just squeeze it and see how plushy it is. And then also look at the fiber to see if, depending on what it is, if it'll fall apart. Like, you know, if it's a clothing item, I want it to have a little bit more like thready or twisted more.
Yeah. So over the years, we've noticed when you make wearables or things that you need to wash or anything like that, it's like a really important for us, because we've noticed like over the years, things will start to like fall apart. And it's just so much work for it to just fall apart or like really, you know, scuff out. And so scuff out, pill. That's
we're really really good at words.
Well, I watched one of your TikToks, and it was about the feedback you got on Etsy after a sale, and you just broke down and started crying. How often does that happen? Like, where you get this like really sweet, positive feedback that makes you wanna go and reminds you like why you got into this business, versus people who are being obnoxious about the purchase, who are being rude, who are being mean? Like, what's your balance?
Honestly, I mean, I can count on one hand how many times we've had someone be like really nasty. Normally, if it's anything like, I mean, both of us have tons of like customer service experience just in like work life. So I guess it's just the way you respond to them. So like some people just like, it's hard when you're like messaging too, because you don't hear vocal cues. So if you just respond appropriately and let them know like you're gonna help them, you know, like sometimes they ordered the wrong item or, you know, something, you know, I don't know. It doesn't happen very often.
For us, it's the sizing that is the only real issue that we've had with somebody ordering the wrong size, or you know, it's crochet, so it's not a perfect. We try really hard to keep our sizes consistent. Like we measure them before we send them out, but you know, some days you might crochet, you know, a little bit tighter than another day.
You're really anxious.
Yeah. So there's only been a couple of times where something has gone out and it didn't fit properly. And it definitely, like she said, we've both been in customer service. So as long as you're prompt and immediately get back to that person and figure out a great way to fix it.
Let me help you.
You know,
Yeah, we want you to like it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's handmade, so it makes, and we don't accept returns. But for instances like that,
we just send out a new one. We just immediately send it out, let them keep the first one, you know, which actually we got a good review out of doing that exact thing, because then they had a mommy and me matching set, which was then really touching to us.
I mean, we don't do that for, I mean, we don't,
yeah.
I mean, we don't
Don't get crazy.
Yeah.
Don't want to start any disasters out there. How do you decide what you're gonna make for the store versus like what sparks your artistic inspiration at any given moment?
So we have definitely an artistic, I would say like the store, it's really hard. So for us, we have to be able to both make it because we have lives, and that's one nice thing about having two people doing a shop is like one person's busy, one person's sick, you know, the other person can like pick up the slack. And I mean, a lot of people, if you've looked at a lot of our TikToks, we crochet completely different. We hold our yarn different. We hold our hands different. So it's amazing how much that will change the look of a stitch and the size of it. So we have to do a lot of back and forth for made to order items of like making sure like both of us, it's a consistent product. So it's hard for us to put things in the shop. And we've decided to probably go to more like making things and putting them on there and then doing only certain things made to order. So that way, because it is like those hats that we have on there, I think we spent a year going back and forth, like trying to stay consistent, getting patterns, like tweaking it. And we sell the pattern too for crocheters. We have, it was actually one of the first YouTube videos I put up. So as far as like, I wonder if I should redo it now that I'm a little better at video editing.
I liked it. I thought it was like very clear.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
No, my dog's gonna know how to crochet here pretty soon.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's mostly my voice that you hear on the tutorials, but sometimes it'll be her hands.
I mean, let me ask you this. So like, as much as you are friends, right? Were you worrying about going into business together? Like, was it ever a concern that like one person is gonna do more than another, that like there's gonna be some resentment or something? Like, were you ever concerned about that?
Nah.
No. We've always crafted together, and no matter what it is that we're doing or making, we always have sent each other photos and stuff, and so that we can get some sort of tweak, and we don't take offense to that. So we actually work really well together.
We're very honest.
Yes, that's the other thing. It's not just, oh yeah, that's so cute. When really, no, that's not working. Do this instead, or maybe this isn't working. And then our goal isn't to get rich. We just want to be able to buy a cabin in the woods for when we're, older and have somewhere to go for vacation.
So we can just fill our cabin with crochet. Maybe we'll start knitting again too, though, because you never know. Maybe we'll just have like all the fiber arts in there, and like the whole cabin will just be like covered in yarn. Yeah. Hopefully very sustainable yarn, because that's a lot of plastic.
And then when it comes to divvying up the work, I do actually do a lot of the hats for the shop, but she spends so much time with photo editing and video editing and all the marketing. And I'm not great with the social media stuff. Like, she makes fun of me all the time, calls me a dinosaur. So the amount of time and work that we're both putting into stuff is the same, if not more, one way or the other, but it always switches back and forth who's busy and who's not busy. And I mean,
yeah, and I'd say too, like if one of us needs a break, we just tell each other we need a break, and we're like, cool, I'll take it.
Yep.
Or so, yeah, no, I could see how that would be a problem for some people, but for us, honesty, we're very like jokey with each other too. So like, it doesn't offend, like we don't get offended very easily.
Well, let's talk about joking with each other. So I've watched probably like your entire TikTok feed, like prepping for this interview, going back to the beginning. And some of them are like very raw and honest and open, right? Like that feedback on Etsy video. or when you talk about the war in Ukraine and the blanket that you made?
I made a temperature blanket of deployment. 1 row for each day my partner was supposed to be gone. Was he gone longer than planned? Yes, of course. But I was safely at home taking care of my children. The mothers of Ukraine don't have this option, and it breaks me to see them fleeing from their homes, dragging their confused kids behind them, wondering if they'll ever see their daddy again. I cry for you. I hope for you. I think of you.
Some of them are like ridiculously silly. Some of them are like almost borderline adult content that
They are.
How do you decide like what you're gonna post? Are you ever stressing about keeping that popularity, growing your social media? Like how much you think about that?
I don't know if we think about growing. I think how much we've grown is already like exceeded where, like, I think I remember when we first started doing it, I was like, maybe we could get some yarn out of it from someone, and like that's happened. So and we were like, so like our goals were so low, like, and it was, we started on Instagram with it and we didn't really find our community there, and we finally like, we're like, all right, we'll get on TikTok, and we get on there and we just found this like amazing community of crafters on there, and everyone's interacting with each other. People are like, it doesn't matter like what level crochet or fiber or art that you do, like everyone puts it on there. And it's like, I feel like it's so fun. As far as how we come up with content, generally things will just like pop in our heads, and that's why I don't get a lot of crochet done either, because I'll be like doing something and I'm like, idea. And then if it's like raunchy or adult or a little, I don't like want to offend anyone when we do it, like that's never, so we have to like make sure, so like if I'm not sure about something, I'll send it to her and be like, what do you think about this, even if it's like really inappropriate, and I'm like, all right, like it's funny for us, but like,
Is it? Yeah.
is it appropriate?
Is it internet?
And honestly, she's always like, yeah, just yep.
I like it.
I think it's funny.
I think there's only a couple of times where I was like, it's a little, I don't know.
So she's my filter.
But which is funny because in real life, I'm not a filter. But when we did first start our journey with Etsy and stuff, and Facebook and Insta, sorry, we were very dinosaur. I know, at least I don't call it the Facebook anymore. But we were very filtered. We wanted it to be very family friendly.
We started with children's clothing.
That was, it wasn't crochet, but I used to do tulle flower girl dresses, hand sewn,
like
with
puffy tulle.
and handmade fabric flowers on the bodice and stuff. But we were very family friendly. We wanted our image to be very, nice. We were very careful. And then we got TikTok and we were like,
and I actually think it helped us.
It did.
Well, not like popularity wise, but like therapy wise, because crochet and what we do, it's like a therapy for us. So that definitely.
And we definitely, it helped with our creativity. TikTok has helped with creativity,
learning
so much. Like I didn't realize how different every single person was. The first time I saw someone crochet holding the yarn and needle with one hand, I was like, what is this magic?
Yeah, like you interviewed Groovies, like, that's what he does.
How is this a thing?
Yeah, we were just like, so like literally the community out there just like blows our mind.
Every day.
Every day.
Oh, but you are like on so many different platforms. Like how much time does that take?
Well, so YouTube takes the longest. Definitely, because it's so much editing and you want it to be good and it's gonna be on there, like people will see that for years, just whenever they need that pattern. TikTok takes the longest next to that, and then honestly we've come to the point where, so we'll post pictures on Instagram and stuff that doesn't take very long, but the TikToks we do, when it's appropriate and we feel like it should be on our Instagram. Not appropriate, I guess some of them are not still, but like some of them, like people that don't have TikToks might not get it as much as someone that's on TikTok. So we just actually just put it over to Instagram. So it does take a lot of time, but most of the time we spend actually is like communicating with the community on there. So like the response, looking at other people's work, making sure like we like let them know that it's amazing because we think it's amazing.
Did you make a lot of friends on social media? Because like that's how we've met, and you surprised me when you recently posted the reel about like, oh, you guys have to go and subscribe to Fiberchats. I was like, oh my God, like nobody does that. Like, do you do that a lot? Do you try to support like other makers a lot?
Yes. Yes, that's a hard yes. Like I love it because we understand the struggle of like trying to put your creativity out there. And the hardest thing is being seen. So you could have the best stuff in the world. You could be the best fiber artist in the world. And if no one sees your stuff, it doesn't matter, which is unfortunate because we see tons of people that like, we're like, whoa, like your stuff is blowing our mind, and they'll have like no one seeing it. And we always try and like repost things on Instagram. On TikTok, you can do that. You can like recommend it. So we always try to do that. And then like, yeah, obviously, if we're going to be on here with you, we're going to support you because we already are by being on here. And if we like it, we'll support it. Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Absolutely.
People supporting you the same way? Like, did you find the community being like that in general, or is that rare occurrence?
Yeah, so we have a strawberry stitch. I'm sure you might have seen the TikTok on it. Oh yeah, here it is. And there are actually a lot of our followers or people that saw it, and they are doing videos and tagging us in there. There's probably 3 or 4 different, I would say, makers.
Maybe even more.
There might be more. I definitely have seen some that, I've
seen it reposted on Instagram.
Yeah, so it is
by like people we've never even heard of. They just liked it, which is funny because this was literally a pattern that I like. The video I made, I was like, my kids were running around me. I was just like, it's on my coffee table, and I was just like, here, blah, here, blah.
And so we definitely get a lot of support with that one because people love strawberries. Granny squares right now.
Yes, they do.
We're in my first granny square like literally a couple of weeks ago, and it's like very exciting. I was like, okay, it's time I practice my crocheting skills, because like I just never have time to do that, and it's something like I feel like it's fun and enjoyable, and it's very different from knitting, so I actually do like it. Well, talking about different fiber arts or arts in general, like you dabble in so many different things. So I already have heard about the tulle dresses, and you paint, and then you make the handles for the hooks, right? You make custom hooks.
I made it. I made it. I made it. I'm crafty.
So when we first started, we didn't realize that I held my hook different than her. So I hold it like a knife. And then she holds it like she holds a pencil.
Yeah.
And so when I made her the hooks, I made them like really ergonomical for my hand, which was holding it like this. And then, but she holds it like this. So she can't have like this big hook.
Yeah.
So,
and the yarn moves up and down the actual hook a lot
Yes.
on my stitching, so it would get caught on anything that goes past like where I would hold
so I made her some really pretty decorative pieces that were supposed to be functional, but now we know that, so we can adjust. And that helps us a lot with other people too, is because we've noticed our differences so much that it helps us like recognize other people's, and we're like, that's awesome. So yeah.
And if you wake up in the morning, how do you decide what you're gonna spend your time on? Because like on one hand you have the business, right? On the other hand you have like all the social media that you known as crocheters on, but then on the whatever fourth leg or third arm, like you have so many artistic interests. How do you decide like how much of your time will go into something that pleases you versus what needs to be done for your business or for your platforms?
Sometimes we try and like intertwine them so we can become content. Like this is, I love embroidering. And so I did this and it's a crochet hook, a skein, and it says hooker. I don't know if it's backwards on there, but that's what it said.
Yeah.
And like it's in a crocheter. So I could make that into content, but that was just something that like I wanted to do and it inspired me. But it is really hard because if you feel like you crocheting any kind of fiber art takes so much time. So, you know, I feel like we're in this like now, you know, we're a now generation. And like it's something like any kind of art like this, you really have to step back and like slow down. Yeah. So I think it gets hard to branch out because, but we also don't want to be in a bubble. Yeah. Because we're not creatively in a like in our heads, we're like everywhere.
Yeah, we're just like this. But if we do have orders in the shop, I do prioritize that. We we make all of our stuff to order and we do it 2 weeks, you know, we tell them that it's going to be 2 weeks before it's sent out so that if something in life does happen or if we are backed up in orders, which happens in, you know, November time, December, we have the time to get them out. And so if I have something in the shop, I definitely like try to prioritize that over my fun stuff because it is like we do, even though we have 2 weeks, if I can get it out in a day or two, I love to do that way much more than worrying about, you know, because then I'm not doing my own craft for fun and stressed out, you know, with it behind my head, like, oh, I got stuff to do.
Yeah, we really need to get better. I think, we really need to get better about like putting more stuff out there to sell so people can have like things we actually create.
Well, do you have like business meetings? Do you sit down and discuss your strategy for like upcoming months or upcoming year and like what you're gonna make and what you should concentrate on? It's what's working and what's not working, or is it like day-to-day chat kind of thing?
We talk every single day
for like hours. So yes, business gets put in there, but we're also just like blah, blah, blah.
We will have our headsets in talking to each other while we're doing stuff, and actually we'll sit there for, you know, half an hour where a word hasn't even gone. Like neither of us
because we're both like
said anything because we're actually doing whatever it is we're doing at that moment. The only problem is we can't be on the phone with each other when we're trying to videotape anything, which is so sad. But
yeah, that is sad.
Wait, I gotta video this. I'll call you right back. And so we actually are on the phone with each other for hours.
So yeah, I mean, we do talk about all the goals and like what we want to do. That's right now what we're gonna do is try and we want to be able to give back to the community and not have it be all about money. So we want to be able to put out free patterns because we understand like it's hard, even if the pattern's like low, like it's hard sometimes. I know it's like a big thing to support your creator and that's great. Like they can buy us coffee if they want. We have it on our link tree, but like we want to be able to like give good things out to people without forcing them to spend money on us. And then if they trust us and they love us enough, eventually we can make some good stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, do you have dreams, ambitions when it comes to this business? Like, let's say it's not happening just yet, but this is like final goal.
I'd love for a lot of sponsorships, I think. So I'd really like for like the community to not have to make us rich, but like businesses to like help us or we help them, and if we like the product, and then we can give it like free content to like the everyday person, I guess, the everyday person that's not making a ton of money. So like that would be our end goal, would just to be like YouTube's paying us, TikTok is paying us, Instagram is paying us, but like you as a crafter, like you get to just like enjoy our work and be inspired.
Well, Do you remember that first sponsorship offer? How did that feel? Like, was it totally like validation of your skills and like how far you came?
Yes, Joanne, can I say who it is? Joanne Fabrics. Some on TikTok, they messaged us and they were like, "Can we just send you some stuff?" And I was like, "That." And as I said, like that was our beginning goal. I was like, maybe we'll get some free yarn.
I want just some free yarn.
Just give me some yarn.
Yeah. So when she called me to tell me that had happened, she's like, "Our dreams are coming true." So exciting. We're like, I wonder what kind of free stuff they're gonna send us. We don't even care what it is.
We're like, you could send us a rock right now and we would make art out of it.
And we will figure out how to make this into content and you're gonna love it.
And yeah, and they did it. They told us that they like wanted to gift it to us. So, but we weren't ever obligated to do anything with it. So that was nice, especially for like our first like toe dip into it. Actually, this cardigan was inspired by this. So they gave us this yarn, and I'm not, if anyone like knows, I'm a pretty like honestly a pretty neutral person, especially with my work and like where my aesthetics are. I love color, but I'm like super neutral. So
I don't think she likes color. She doesn't.
She is really colorful. So I like matched it with a neutral because I was like, this is like me and this is like me branching out.
Yeah.
And then I did like little squares on the back. I don't know if they can see it around.
Yeah, so they're actually open granny squares that
That's
a
so
little
cool.
cute little open back. Yeah, this is actually her first cardigan.
Yes. I made blankets and everything, but never a cardigan. So I was like, I'll try one of these large granny square things, and I had to like manipulate the yarn. But yeah, so we have that, and then we have a few other things coming out with the stuff that they gave us. So this is our debut of this cardigan.
Ooh, yeah, everything they sent us, we didn't want to use it in a way that we've already done stuff before. So everything that's going to be coming out is something new, and we were hoping that it would be really cool, different concepts and stuff. So everyone likes it.
Yeah, we let like the yarn inspire us. Like, so we're really excited. We're really excited about that.
So let me ask you like a serious question. Who is a better dancer?
I don't know. You're pretty good. You're a better dancer and I'm a better talker.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the voice and I'm the moves.
Yeah, 100%.
Trying to like learn some of those moves actually as I was watching your TikToks, because you were like really into the
Really?
Yeah, I don't enjoy speaking, so I just dance.
People ever ask you like criticize you or tell you, oh my god, like how silly do you get on your TikTok? Like, is that ever a consideration that like what will people think, or is that what brought you the people that you actually met, helped you meet people that you like?
Yeah.
The first video we got trolls on, I kind of, I woke up in the middle of the night, checked the TikToks. I knew the video was doing really well. And then I saw some comments on there and it was actually related to the actual music itself. And I panicked. So then I did some quick Googling and I was just like, oh, the next morning I messaged her. And then we kind of decided like what we were going to do back and forth. So that was our first video with trolls. And I did like kind of get a little upset about it. And then I took a step back and thought about how other people that are in different, have different lifestyles and they have way worse issues and it's consistent and all the time. And, just because we got bad, weird comments on one video, it's, move on.
And it's we always find like we know something's gonna go viral when people start talking to the void. Like they don't realize they're actually commenting to the creator, like someone who put like their heart and soul into that piece, and they just like are talking to talk. So they're just like spouting out to whoever's reading it.
Yeah, we laugh about that all the time. We're like, okay, so how many views does a video need to get or comments before people just start talking to this space? They don't realize they're actually interacting with a real human being who posts.
When you decide on like what you're working, how practical, because like I see a lot of your TikToks where your hair is decorated with beautiful flowers and like whole arrangements, like how practical you are in your creations. Do you like when you make those flowers, right? Do you have the final goal for them, or it's just like whatever tickles your fancy at the moment, and then you'll think how you're gonna arrange it?
Well, for the flowers, it actually started. So at Leanne's house, a lot of our TikToks have that like beautiful flower wall behind it. So that's actually something we created in her craft room. She does a lot of like flower arrangements for people with fake flowers. So she just has tons of spare ones. And I was like, let's make this idea. I was like, let's make usable storage that will look pretty as a background. So that's actually like 2x4s on her wall with chicken wire behind it. And the fake flowers are put in there so she can take them out as needed.
Yeah, it's like open storage, but very decorative.
Very decorative. So I was like, I want to do something like that for when we do content here. And we're still working on it, but that, I don't know if you guys can see it, that is a wall of crochet flowers, because I have no need for a bunch of fake flowers because I don't work, my mind doesn't work in floral arrangements. So
I've done a few weddings and stuff like that.
yeah, so yeah, she did my reception. She did all the flower arrangements for it. So we do all the flowers so we can put it on this wall, and they all have clips on them so we can use them as different decoration or put them on different things as we want, or, you know, put them in our hair. This was one of the first flowers we did that went viral. I think it was at like 160,000, and we thought that was just
whoa, we thought it was so cool.
So cool. And it was so funny because we were just doing flowers for that, and I was like, oh, this is an easy pattern to like throw up there. So I think I did like 2 of them, and then I was just like, all right, let's do a video of it real quick. And everyone just like loved the commentary, and I didn't even think about the commentary when I was doing it. I was just like, oh yeah, shove it right in there, like do this, do that. And they just like loved it. And I was like, that is literally just what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's kind of how we found our niche in a sense, was just that video and people commenting on the dialogue. I'm like, okay, I guess we're relating to new beginners, and that's awesome.
That's how we are in real life too. So.
And it's funny because so in the time that she made this cute little guide here, I made 2 boxes full of crochet flowers.
She didn't take one picture or video of them though. I had to do it when I got it.
Well, I wanted to surprise her. I was like, I'm gonna make all these really cool, extravagant flowers.
And she did.
Shocker.
We only put videos up though if we made the pattern.
Yes.
So a lot of people will ask us for tutorials on like items that we made using other people's, or like we used a different pattern, but we like tweaked it, but it's still not ours. And so we'll try and like clip them in.
Yeah, we don't want to take credit for anyone else's hard
work. So we have to like explain to people because they're so used to us posting stuff and then putting tutorials up, and we're like, no, I'm not. Like this one, the leaf was someone else's pattern, because I didn't know that it was gonna get like that many people were gonna see it. So I was like, oh yeah, just throw some leaves on there, and they're like, well, what's the leaf pattern? I'm like, it's not mine, so go look up a leaf pattern.
YouTube, that's what I did.
You ever consider like writing a book about all the stuff that you make?
I've thought about it, but I've thought about it. I just have to know that people would care enough for me to like put all that work into it. You know, it's like even writing written patterns is so like you know, you're under a microscope when you're writing. I feel like videos, you're not under as much of a microscope because you're explaining it with visuals, with verbal. So like, you know, you can see how it's being done. But when you're doing written patterns,
it's
like
technical.
It's more technical. You have to be very careful with your words. You know, you want like pattern testers, all this stuff. It's like a whole nother world. And so I feel like writing a book would be even like a level up from that. Would I love to? Yes.
Do you have the time?
Maybe in a couple of years.
When the kids are bigger.
He's older.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intense. I've only, been here half a day visiting and sitting here trying to crochet while
They're like climbing on her.
the kids are literally climbing over my body and ripping my hair out. Like she crocheted my hair yesterday. That was like the nicest thing that's happened to my hair since I've been here.
Well, talking about the nicest things that happens, what makes you happy? Like what makes you smile at the end of the day?
Each other.
Yeah. We like playing show and tell with each other,
Yeah.
and like getting to show each other the different things that we've done, and it's so exciting.
Yes.
Or coming up with, when we get that bright idea, like, hey, idea, I want to try this or do that. And then it's always like we inspire each other, or we show each other videos and we're like, yes, that is so cool.
That is so awesome. Like we love sending each other videos of like what other people are doing. Like, oh my gosh, did you see what this person did?
Yeah.
And then so I guess it's like the camaraderie and being able to not only like a lot of our friends could be like, that's really cool, but they don't understand how cool it is.
Yes.
So like being excited together.
And other creators also that are excited about things that they see that we've done, because they also understand like the intensity that went into that item.
Mm-hmm. So we like that.
Again, with that raw video you were talking about earlier, getting any kind of feedback about how something actually feels like it may have changed someone's life or like has fulfilled them in a part or in a way like that. It doesn't put a smile on our faces. We actually cry, a lot about that kind of stuff, which you've seen. I was crying when I was reading it, but I didn't. She's more gutsy than I am. I didn't feel myself crying, but.
I know that you go back to like the very beginning, right? But do you think how did you change each other as people? Like how one of you influenced another?
Good question.
So many. It's been so long. Well, she definitely taught me how to crochet, and I wouldn't be on this journey without her. She came up with the name MissEverLee Designs, which is a play on Missy, my daughter Everlee, and Leanne. So MissEverLee. And yeah, so she definitely brings like my creativity to another level.
Yes, when we trade back and forth ideas and concepts, I think that that's a big reason why we've grown or have learned new techniques on stuff. We challenge each other. And so for an example, I had a friend, she got a one of those like big thick blanket yarns that was hand knitted, and the knots were already coming out, and she spent $100 on this thing, which is priced accordingly to the size and how much the yarn would be, but the knots were already coming undone, and she'd only had it a week, and we had never used that yarn before. And I was like, Missy, check out this. How can we do this better? And so we kind of went back and forth and decided using like sewing it in with an actual needle and thread.
Yeah.
We challenge each other by like, okay, check this problem out. What can we do like to make it better? How, and we go back and forth all the time.
Yeah. And I think we also have different strengths. Like she's very good at sewing. I do other things. Like I embroider. It's not her strength.
If I were the worst at anything, it would be embroidery.
She tries really hard. I try.
I enjoy it, but it is
like
so bad.
The little stuffies, their faces are the best when she makes them. She always says it to me, and I'm just like,
And I send them off to the nieces and nephews as gifts. I'm like, look how creepy this is. So bad. It's like a 2-year-old. So when they grow up, they're gonna be like, hey.
Ew. But so I think we try and put a lot of our other art forms into our crochet, like thinking outside the box. So we're not just thinking about how would you do this as a crochet, like why could this problem be solved easier with sewing or embroidery or macrame or like anything like that. We are like, could this be done a different way, or could their techniques influence our work?
And then if she does something that I don't do very often, I try, and she's like, oh, we'll try it like this. So then we incorporate a lot of different, we have so many different strengths and weaknesses to help each other figure out how we want to solve something.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody came to you for advice, like if they thought to start a handmade business, would you tell them to go ahead with it, or would you warn them not to?
Both.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of people ask us this question actually, and we want to be very honest with them. It's a lot of work. There's 2 of us. Half the time we can't even handle the amount of stuff we have to do.
I don't know how one person does it. No idea.
No idea. Yeah. So, but it's so fulfilling, which is a big thing for both of us in our lives, is how like fulfilling it is, like to our hearts. And so it's kind of a balance, like what can, how are you technical wise? Because nowadays everything is online, and not everything. I mean, we have you can have boutiques, farmers markets, all that stuff. That's wonderful. Not doubting that. Here in Missouri, it's like 2 months a year though. And then, I'd say like the technical aspect, like I already knew how to do Photoshop. My husband has a graphic design degree, I've already been like technically skilled in that, and maybe that wasn't her strong suit. So her doing this by herself online
there's no way I would have been successful. I cannot begin to tell you how far I've grown in my photography skills since she's helped. And like, I mean, let me tell you, our videos, if it was just me, they would be terrible. It'd be a dark room, like the angles would be weird, there'd be crazy shadows, and be like, yeah, isn't that great?
Like, woo! And we're very honest with each other about this stuff too. So like that's how she's grown too. It's like she would take a picture, I'd be like, all right, but let's do it this way. Let's do it again. Let's do it like this. And it's not that it has to be perfect necessarily, because that's not it at all.
But we want to showcase specific aspects of whatever it is.
And it's not like we do like Instagram perfect pictures or anything. Generally, it's just like we want to be able to show what it actually looks like.
Yeah. But we definitely want to promote anyone that wants to do their own business. 100%, they should go for it. They should just figure out the right avenue that's going to work great for them, and know why things work in one way and why things don't, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we're still going back and forth on where we want to move with our own business. We all know that there's things going on out there with different platforms. So we're debating on if we go into our own website, how we're going to continue getting our advertising out on our own.
Doing different things. So it's just like a constant change, grow, try something, fail or don't fail, but like expand on it.
Yeah, be willing to adapt with the business, I would say, is very important. Like I said, we started out with baby items, and the pandemic hit and we sold a ton of adult size hats. That is not what we thought was going to happen.
We thought it would be like mommy and me kind of stuff.
Lots of newborn hats. That's what we envisioned. And it totally was the complete opposite. And we did start with a lot of already made hats. And we were like, well, I guess this isn't what we're going to do, because now we have all these newborn hats or small baby hats, and it's all adult stuff. All adult stuff. And then, and then it's super time consuming, and you have to have a lot of storage space, and we want to make sure our storage space is clean, because we're sending out these items, and then we hit TikTok, and honestly, most of our followers are fellow crocheters. They're not going to buy hats. So now we love the idea of just writing patterns so that they can recreate our items, and we don't have to make the same thing over and over again. We can do whatever we want. I love doing whatever I want to do, and yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I love watching you guys. I love watching your videos and getting ideas, and it's actually like inspiring me to try some new things. Like, you might find me making one of your hats one day soon.
Absolutely,
we love it. And obviously message us if you need help. That's a big thing. Yes. As a creator, I feel like you need to be able to not get defensive when someone doesn't know, and like generally asking for help. There's very rarely that people are just straight up nasty. And if they are, they're not creative. Like they're not, they're just
creators.
they're just there.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so we always try and respond to everyone. Like we will literally just pictures back and forth of someone. I will send them a video of us doing what they are questioning about so that they fully understand. And that's like that's like one of my favorite parts of being online.
Well, that's how we figured out a lot of our followers are beginners, because a lot of the questions that we would get would be stuff like, how do you do a magic circle?
What?
Let me help you. Let's start from the beginning.
Let's take this back.
Let's go back. So then we realized, and that's what we love. We love helping people who have no idea, because TikTok has really opened our eyes to stuff that we had no idea. We just thought that there was one way to do it, and that's how we do it. That's how we started.
That's how we do it.
I mean,
that's how it's done.
Like, apparently I hold my tension on my yarn way different than anyone else. So that's how I taught her how to hold tension. And then she's like, my hands hurt. And I'm like, I don't know why. And then we find out there's 1,000,001 different ways to hold your yarn. And so I started her out wrong.
Well, there's no wrong way, but for my hands, and how I want my tension to be, it was excruciating. And I did it for years. I mean, I actually worked with people on TikTok and I asked them for help. I'm like, this is hurting me and I don't want it to. So like, how do you hold your yarn? And people duet us. A ton of people showed me how to use how they did it. And then from that, I actually found a way that I like to hold it better, and it doesn't hurt, and it's amazing. And so I have to thank TikTok for that, because
Well, I hope to pick up your brain one day about TikTok, because I just started it and I literally have like 10 followers or something, and you are one of them. So thank you for your support.
I mean, we started a year ago on TikTok in March. So a year ago in March. And so
it's so much easier to build followers on TikTok than any of the other platforms.
Yeah, because people
might keep you for advice.
Yeah, people just love to interact and love to like follow people they want to see their videos. So yeah, anytime you know where to find me
on TikTok,
or no, we interact on Instagram. I already picked your brain about DaVinci Resolve. So I'm all about geeking out on technical things and like stuff like that. So yeah, for sure. And anyone else that wants to.
I'm so happy that we met, and I'm so happy that you guys agreed to be on my channel today. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.